Now it's time for currency conversions. I like this joke here. I don't know the amount of money I have, but I know the pounds of money. In other words, how he's rich. All right, so let's look at this. Currency conversions. This is when you want to convert from one type of currency to another, so one type of money. This is from one country to another. Now I'm in the bank or the loan or the lending place. For example, it can be like Western Union. It could be a place at an airport. It could be whatever. They're either going to buy or sell you the money. This sounds a little bit weird, but this is really how it works. You can look it up on Google, but that's never the actual amount you get, right? So they do different things depending on if they're giving you money of a certain currency or selling you money of that same currency. And sometimes they also charge a commission. It could be like a straight up fee, like, this much, or it could be a percentage, sometimes a combination of the two. For example, I use PayPal with my company, so then PayPal actually charges us a small amount for every transaction plus a percent of the actual amount. So it just depends on what there is. Now, this nice little trick right here that I like to do is to use ratios. This is the key. This is how I do all of these here. This is really important, at least the way I'm going to show you. I always use, this sounds a little bit confusing. I know it's not very clear. But what I do is the thing I'm looking for, I call that X. I always give it like an unknown value. I call it X. And what I do is I say, well, the thing that I want, I divide that by the thing that I have. So whatever units currency that is. And then I make a ratio of what I'm told. See, this right here, this is your, I guess you could say the conversion. This is the conversion, or you could say, or it's the rate. So here I put in, the units of the thing I want over the units of the thing that I have. This sounds actually really confusing. That's why I figured maybe I'll just give you a practical example, a real example here. So let's do this one right here. So I'm looking at, let's make it purple just for fun here. So if one CAD is Canadian dollar. So CAD is Canadian and DKK is a Danish kroner, for example. I know this because I'm Canadian and I live in Denmark, so there we go. So if one Canadian dollar is worth 5.10 Danish kroners, then what do I get in Danish kroners if I exchange 15 Canadian? So see, the idea is you have to think about, what is it that I want? What is it that I want to get? You notice I want kroners. So I'm going to put X, that's the thing I want, and I'm going to put in the units of the thing I want. So X DKK, right? That's what I want. And I want to do that over, what do I actually have? Well, I have 15 CAD. Do you notice? So see what I've done here? I've made this first part here of this ratio. So X kroners over 15 Canadian, that's going to equal, now I have to use units of what I want and have. In other words, whatever units you used here, if you use DKK on the top here, then put DKK on the top here. If you had CAD on the bottom, then you put CAD on the bottom. And I always put my X on the top here, it makes the math a lot easier. Now I just have to put in the numbers here that I've been given. So my conversion or rate, in this case, I've been told that 1 Canadian is 5.10 Danish kroners. So I'm going to put in 1 beside the Canadian, because that's that one, and 5.10 beside the Danish kroners. If you think of it that way, then it becomes real easy. We can do what some people call cross, multiply, and divide. It basically means I want to get X by itself. I'm going to show you the really long way just to show you how all this stuff works here. If I want to get rid of the 15 Canadian on the bottom, what do I do? Well, remember what we can do? We can multiply both sides of the equation by this 15. So that means I get my 5.10 DKK. Don't forget, this is what we originally had on this side. Okay, on the right side, we originally had the 5.1 DKK over 1 CAD, except I moved my 15 Canadian to the right here. It goes on top. So that means I have times 15 Canadian. I have to be very careful here, yeah. So what I like about this, if you do it right, and you look at it really carefully, the units cancel out. You have Canadian over Canadian, so those cancel out, those units do. And look, I'm left with DKK, which is what I wanted. So if you do this in the right way, the units always work out. So in this case right here, I just have to use my trusty calculator to tell me, well, what's 5.10 times 15? So I'm just going to get out my calculator here and do that. So let's just get here. So I have my calculator. I need a new calculator here. I'm going to say, fine, what's 5.1 times 15? I mean, I could put the 0.0, but it doesn't really matter. So 5.1 is the same as 5.10. So I say 5.1 times 15. I do that and I end up with 76.5. Fine. So I'll go over here then and I'll say fine then. That means it's 76.5. Whoops. 76.5. Now, sometimes we like to put currency with 2 decimals. You can do that as well. Although technically it's 4 significant figures, but oh well. Here we go. So this is my Danish kroners. I get 76.5 Danish kroners. That's how we use this trick.